Parenting is one of those activities or responsibilities that creates a ton of anxiety. So if you're already anxious and you're a parent, often it's going to make things even worse. And often I am asked, how do I deal with the anxiety that comes up around my kids or around being a parent? Well, this week on The Anxious Truth, we're going to talk about that with special guest Joanna Hardis. So let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Anxious Truth. This is episode 329 of the podcast. We're recording in September of 2025, in case you're listening or watching from the future. I am Drew Linsalata, creator and host of the Anxious Truth podcast. I'm a therapist practicing in the area of anxiety and anxiety disorders in the state of New York. I'm also a former sufferer of the things we talk about on The Anxious Truth, but recovered now. Three-time author on the topic, social media dude, psychoeducator, advocate, guy with expensive microphones. And yeah, if this is your first time at The Anxious Truth, whether on YouTube or as a podcast, welcome. I hope you find what we're doing here helpful in some way. And of course, if you're a returning viewer or listener, welcome back. Always glad to have you. This week, we're going to talk about parenting and really kind of the anxiety that arises around being a parent and taking care of kids of all ages, little kids, middle kids, teenagers, even parents of adult children. Like parenting has its own set of challenges, which tend to come with big emotions and a lot of strong opinions, which can generate a lot of anxiety. So today I am joined once again by my friend Joanna Hardis. Joanna is an anxiety specialist practicing in Cleveland, who I entrust implicitly. She's very well trained. She has a lot of experience and she speaks the same language as me. But Joanna has the added benefit of having a lot of experience in the family space and specifically working with parents that I don't have. So when it comes to talking about maybe how to parent more effectively in a less anxious way, she's a really great resource. So she's here today to talk about anxious parenting and how to learn how to here it comes, like no surprise here, how to do less about your anxious feelings about being a parent and about your kids. So she's going to spend about a half hour with us and we're going to talk about that. She just wrote a book about that, which we're going to talk about. But yeah, so let's get to that. But before we do, just a quick reminder that The Anxious Truth is more than just this video or this podcast episode. There's all the other podcast episodes and videos that came before this one. They're on my social media feeds. There are the books that I've written. There are very low cost workshops and there were workshops. They're not courses that are all accessible on my website at theanxioustruth.com. So all the resources are there. Just start there at theanxioustruth.com. If you like this episode or any others, you might like what you find there. The vast majority of which is free or at a very low cost. So take advantage of all those resources at theanxioustruth.com. So let's bring Joanna on. We're going to talk for probably about a half hour or so about this topic, which I think is long overdue on this podcast. We should have covered it long ago. So yeah, let's get to it. And then I'll come back at the end and we will wrap it up as always. All right. As promised, you guys know Joanna. She's been on the podcast a lot of times, but
Hope so.
today, yeah, you're like a regular. You are, I think I said this right when you and I and Lauren were together. You are the most frequent guest on The Anxious Truth.
Oh, but probably not the most requested. That would be, like, the best honor ever.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe you are. I'd have to look at that. I don't know.
Oh, I wish.
Anyway, Joanna is here today because I get asked all the time about the whole parenting anxiety thing. But what about it when you're an anxious parent? But how do you deal with anxiety when you're parenting? And really, like, I'm not a good parenting resource. I mean, I did raise two kids. They're okay. They didn't explode. So I guess they did okay. But
As well as any of us did.
as well as anybody did. But I'm not a good necessarily good resource for that. But Joanna really is because Joanna has a background in parenting and you were space trained and all of that stuff
Mhm,
from way
mhm.
back in your eating disorders days, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Before space was a big thing.
Before it was. That's right. You were one of
Yes.
the original spacers, which is really cool. So
I don't know about original, but, like, yeah, before it was a huge thing, I was trained.
yeah, very cool. So well, let's talk about that. What is your background in like parenting type stuff?
Right. So, well, I have been a parent for longer than I've been working with parents. So, I've been a parent, gosh, 25 years now. Which is hard to believe. And I've been working with parents since I've been, let me think, a social worker and a therapist. So I started when I was working in HIV, actually, and running a pediatric HIV clinic.
Mhm.
My interest in working with parents started then, but it was really when I was in an eating disorder treatment center and working with families and having to refeed kids, and it was family-based treatment.
Okay.
And that's when I was working a lot with parents and met Ellie Lebowitz, I believe, at a conference. I think it was probably in like 2015, 2016, and got trained in space around a table at Yale with a colleague and I and another person and Ellie and one of his colleagues. So it was like literally 3 of us. And I
Wow.
think I know, it was crazy. He was so generous, and I think it was like 2017, maybe even 2016.
Yeah. So what
So
is Joanna wasn't trained in space, which would have been so cool. Like he was at Yale, which is not in space. But
I was trained on Mars.
so what is space stands for just for people who are going to
Yes,
ask?
thank you. I should have clarified that. SPACE stands for Supportive Parenting for Anxious Childhood Emotions, and it's an evidence-based, uh, treatment model that is parent only. So if you have kids that wouldn't go to therapy, you could work this is a parent only model where the whole goal is to change parents' behavior. So you work on decreasing accommodation and more supportive language
Cool.
for
Okay.
parents.
So you've been knee deep in the family approach forever since day one.
Yeah, I mean, when I went and started my own practice in 18 and really was focusing on OCD, I was doing space, but I mean, honestly, my practice is now primarily working in the context of OCD, and I parent coaching, but I was doing way more of it when I was working in eating disorders.
Mm.
Now, it's hard to work with any adult without talking about parenting, and certainly every adult with whom I work worries about worries about their children and how their OCD or their anxiety impacts their children.
Mm.
But I am not my practice is not primarily space at this moment, so I don't want to give a false sell. So that's how I got interested and decided to write the second book about for parents.
Very good.
Yeah,
So this is why, because of course, in my audience, and you know this because we share an audience, like it's generally people who are worried about, not worried about, but they're dealing with their own anxiety problems. There are
yeah,
some people who are trying to support their anxious children, which is super awesome. Love you guys. But Joanna wrote Just Do Nothing, parentheses, for parents, which
yeah,
is parenting better by doing less. It's a follow up to her first book, which is called Just Do Nothing, which is really awesome.
yeah. Thank you.
If you've read that book, which you should, because we are in alignment and all that. If you hear Joanna say a thing, it's just like I said a thing. We are in alignment in the way we approach these things. So let's talk about parenting better by doing less in a context where the listeners tend to be worried about their anxiety impacting the way they parent. How do you put that into the context where like less is more, really? Because
Yeah.
they probably think they need to do more.
Right. And in this book, I'm focusing on, again, distress intolerance or building distress tolerance because when as a parent, and I don't know, I think this is where we differ
Mhm.
because I know for me that when I used to get really anxious as a parent and I would feel myself getting really overwhelmed, my instinct was to do more. So I would talk more, I would rescue more, I would swoop in more, I would say yes more. If if my kids were upset, then I would also do more.
Mhm. I think that's probably a common trigger in the listeners today when the kids are distressed, which is going to happen. Like every kid is going to have challenges. It not only do you start to get distressed because you're sensitive already, but people tend to see it through that lens of like, oh, my child has been triggered like I get triggered and they feel really bad like I feel and I have to fix that.
Exactly.
And it
Right.
leads them into launching into more, like you said you were doing more.
Yes, right. And so it's r- a- and it could be it's not only anxiety, but if my child is feeling or any kind of messy or challenging emotion, then my instinct is to do more.
Mhm.
And so, that's why, and so then a parent swoops in. So what I really want parents to learn how to do is to get better at saying it is okay for our kids to be feeling disappointed, embarrassed, unhappy, bored, vulnerable, all these feelings. And we don't, it's actually better if we do less because then it gives them the opportunity to build the skill set to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But that's I even as a non-anxious parent, I think it's hard for parents to let their kids struggle.
It is. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not saying let's let our kids fail or we have to be cruel and be cold and callous.
Mhm.
Because I think we have this, like, false binary. We're either, like, so super involved or we're, like, cold and callous and, like, don't care.
Yeah. Does that relate to the and it's a silly question, but for a while, I don't hear it that much anymore. But remember, for a while, there was a big backlash against things like participation trophies, and everybody's a winner, and like we don't want any kids to feel like they've lost. And so there's that binary, like we're either like super helicoptering and protecting them and wrapping them in bubble wrap, and then yeah, but then they learn that everybody's fine, they're okay, and they never fail, they never make a mistake, and it's a and people really there was a lot of backlash against that. But the backlash was kind of the other way. It was the other extreme of like go get roughed up and get your butt kicked and like let life knock you down and bloody you and that builds character and that's going to make you strong. Really?
Right.
Two very wide extremes there, no?
Right, right. Those are really two extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But I think kids have to learn. I mean, we don't do kids any favors by, by by giving everyone a trophy because life doesn't do that.
it doesn't. I thought I was getting a trophy today.
I have never gotten a trophy for anything.
I'm sorry. I have to end the podcast. I'm just teasing you. You're
I
right,
would
though.
like I have never I don't think I have ever won a trophy for anything.
Oh, I feel like I want to send you one now.
Please do.
I will.
So, and again, so I am not telling parents, because I think one of the things that I think is really important is these days it's really confusing for parents because on the one hand, parents are told you're doing too much, and on the other hand, parents are often told, you're doing too little. So what I really want to do for parents is to give them a way to make decisions and to understand, okay, how do I know, what kind of decisions to make? Because I think for parents, certainly like how I often parented based on my feelings.
That's good.
And and that never was a good choice. That was never a really good decision. So I want to give parents a skill set so that they can parent according to the situation and not reacting to their feelings. And so that was really the niche
Mhm.
that I wanted to fill, which was, helping them so that they could, become in our world, being distress tolerant
Mhm.
so that they didn't feel like they were constantly being hijacked by their feelings so that they could parent to the situation so they can decide how they want to make decisions.
Boy, that sure sounds. Now I know you're writing outside of our usual audience, but isn't it amazing how that sounds? Boy, you all sound familiar, right? Like you don't want to be hijacked by your feelings. You want to be able to be more intentional about how you respond. You want to learn to
Yeah.
be with the distress. Like, geez, these are starting to sound like life principles, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, I think it is our audience, but I think it's also everybody
Yeah.
because it's not just anxiety. I mean, it could be any feeling. Your kid could be heartbroken. Your kid could be,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the feeling. There's a lot of messy, challenging feelings.
And it almost sounds like it's a little bit win-win there. Because if you can learn to do that, not only is your child probably going to benefit from learning that distress tolerance and be able to navigate through difficult things and stand on their own for the most part and believe in themselves, but you're also practicing distress tolerance because their distress makes distress in you.
Yeah.
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 So it's like,
And
okay, we're in this together, Sally. Like, I know you're upset and I'm upset because you're upset, but we can handle this. Okay.
I mean, that was what that to me is the goal. And, I also think one of the benefits of being distress tolerant is we don't make hard situations worse.
Mhm.
And I think I think so much of parenting and so much of life and I mean, I say this all the time to my clients, as I'm sure you do too. A lot of life is difficult.
Yeah.
And a lot of these moments are challenging. And if we have a good skill set and we don't make it worse. So if we can accept reality as it is, it may be that you don't make the team or you got you're heartbroken or as a parent I'm frustrated or I'm anxious. But if I can keep myself from going into the suffering or layering onto it,
Mhm.
I can keep that from getting worse.
Because we are going to get frustrated and anxious and uncertain as parents. That's just baked in.
Right.
So instead of thinking like as soon as that comes up, the parents' feeling, and I'm a parent, so I get it. Like my feelings have to be fixed by doing something more for my kid, or I just have to have the feelings because that's part
Right.
of parenting. Right.
Right. Versus like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the worst parent and I'm gonna screw them up and they're gonna be like irrevocably fucked up and no other parent is like this. I'm the worst parent." All that stuff that we layer onto it
Yeah,
that makes these difficult situations so much worse.
makes sense. And life is hard. I just found out I'm not getting a trophy today.
Okay, did you have to rub it in that I have never gotten a trophy?
Whoa, I'm sorry, I brought up. See now, Joanna has to use your distress tolerance skills.
Can
Come on,
someone
you can
send
do
me a
it.
trophy?
What's the obstacle here? So in this kind of thing, where do you think where's the pushback on do less? Do less? No way. What's the pushback?
It's irresponsible.
I knew you were going there. That we did. I promise we did not rehearse this, but I knew you were going to go there.
It's irresponsible. You're telling me to do less. Like, it's irresponsible for me not to
Yeah, yeah.
you're telling me to let my kid fail?
But I'm dad. I'm supposed to be the protector and the
Mhm,
fixer, or I'm the loving mom, right? That's
mhm,
difficult.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. How do you get around that?
Well, I mean, my kids have never given me a card that, like, thanked me for nagging or worrying or blowing up their phone for the stupid shit that I
All right. I think I got to call your kids and have them send you a trophy for that.
for the for the worrying and in in the book I lay out kind of the areas because I kind of think of this as like a superpower,
Mm.
being able to be distress tolerant, and I lay out areas that I think that if we have it we're better at. For instance, we're able to be imperfect or we're able to talk less. I mean,
Which is a
if
good thing.
yeah, I mean, if I could, because when I get upset, I talk so much. So if I could talk less, my kids probably would give me a trophy. Or if we could handle our kids' distress, we would listen more. All these areas,
Oh, that was worth the price of admission right there.
it
That's it.
was.
Yes. Yes. If we could just be with their distress, we would probably hear them and see them more.
Yeah, think about it. Because if
Damn.
when they're upset or we're upset, it's really hard. Like we want to fill that silence so much.
Yeah. Either literally or symbolically.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And and we have such a hard time letting them just be in a mood, especially a bad mood.
Mm. Especially when that bad mood coincides with our bad mood. Then we can easily interpret that as they're being disrespectful and they don't understand how to act in this family, like, or they're just having a bad day like we might. Kids have bad days too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like And if you're a parent that thinks, "Oh my gosh, well, everyone should be happy, and it's my responsibility that to make my child happy,"
Mm.
and you're uncomfortable with messy feelings, and your kid is moody or just, kind of broody, or just, that's going to be really hard.
I got to believe it would increase the conflict because now I'm trying to force you, child, to be not what you are naturally being right now.
Right, right,
Yeah, that's not cool. And then everybody gets frustrated.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So it sounds like like as parents, we seem compelled. Like I want to put up guardrails for my kids. I mean, they won't, not now, they're older, but like when they're little, we want to put up guardrails so they don't go off the road. But really, sometimes we have to. That's true. By the way, this is not a conversation about like just let them roam. This is like free range chickens here. Like, of course, there's some rules and some structure, but if we refrain from putting guardrails up every bit, every step they take, that skill, this they learn to build their own guardrails sooner or later.
Right. And thinking about what is driving my behavior. So if I'm putting up a guardrail because it is important as a parent to put up a guardrail and a boundary because they're two, that's okay. But if I'm putting up a guardrail because I'm so uncomfortable with my, 16-year-old um, being independent from me because of my own discomfort, I want parents to be able to discern the difference.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so to be able to ask themselves, what is the function of me doing this? Am I reacting to my feelings and my own distress and discomfort, or am I responding to the situation in front of me?
yeah. Okay. So am I doing it? Am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me? Is a simplified way to maybe look at that. Am I doing
Yeah,
this for me?
kind of. Yeah, kind of. Am I reacting to my own distress intolerance?
Mhm.
Or you're right, or is it the situation?
Yeah.
Because I want parents to feel empowered that if I'm doing it because of my own distress, that's okay. Let's get curious.
Mhm.
And here are some skills so that I can build up my tolerance for discomfort because that's kind of the price of admission.
Mhm.
How can I be with that discomfort instead of getting hijacked by it?
I guess if you can learn to not get these are mindfulness principles. Surprise, here they are,
What
right?
a
So,
shock.
yeah, what a shock. If I don't get hijacked by my distress and the autopilot, to fix this, fix this. You might, and you know what? Your distress might be because the situation really does warrant guardrails to the
Yeah.
16-year-old, but you might be able to more clearly discern that. Does
Yes.
it this time because they're not mature enough, they don't have any experience, so I got to help them here, or yeah, I really want to put up guardrails, but actually don't need to this time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's slowing people down and trying to be more intentional about decision making because I think when people are on autopilot, we're much more likely to either do what we've always done or reacting to our feelings, which may not be in the best interest of our kid, and it may rob them of the opportunity to build their own skill set.
I'd like to point out that we are 21 minutes into this and have not used the phrase kiddos. We get trophies for that.
Oh my gosh.
I never heard you say kiddos.
I
Anyway,
don't think I really hope I don't.
yeah, I hear you. This is really great though. So the obstacle is like it's irresponsible or this is a violation of my identity. Like I am the loving mom, I am the protector, I am the blah, I am the, like that violates my identity concept to do less.
Well, and getting curious about like, okay, well, where does that come from? Like, where does that belief come from?
Mm. Very good. Okay. So, how everybody's going to ask, this is the part where we get to the question, but how do I do less? How do I accept my anxiety? How do I do these? How do I do less when I feel like I have to fix what my kid is feeling? Because I don't like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's how do I get comfortable being uncomfortable?
Now we're going into podcast bro territory. Let's do it. Come on,
What's
mic drops.
podcast bro territory?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable, brother. Bro. Somehow I just turned into Hulk Hogan, RIP. I don't know how that happened, but okay. Um, yeah.
When
So
did he
how?
die?
I don't know, a couple of months ago, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
monster. Monster. Anyway,
and, I wish I had a quick fix. I wish I had something really, sexy. We have to do it we have to do it in a gradual, systematic way about learning how to, to get experientially. We have to do it. So it may be figuring out for you where to start. It may be learning how to say no when your child interrupts a conversation and learning how to say no. I'll answer your question in a minute. I'm talking to your dad.
yeah,
It may be learning how to have it may be that you can't even start to get comfortable being uncomfortable in terms of your child at first. So we have to start with putting your phone in a different room.
yeah. Working on your own distress tolerance skills.
Yes. So, in the book, I have all sorts of exercises about like, how are we going to learn how to practice microdosing discomfort? Is it and I think the phone is such a great way for
Mhm.
people because people have such disordered relationships with it. So, is it gonna be that when you're at a stoplight, you don't pick up your phone?
Yeah,
When you're waiting in line at the grocery store, you don't pick up your phone. You have it in another room. When you're interacting with your child, you don't have your phone. You're just, like, so focused on them,
yeah,
and we gradually build up time. The goal is that we just get used to practicing feeling uncomfortable and responding differently to it.
yeah. That's really great.
And
Um,
softening, so instead of, like, bracing and feeling like, "Oh, I can't do this," we get curious and we literally, like, soften to it, to feeling uncomfortable.
yeah. In that type of situation where, "Ooh, I'm compelled to do something right away," but I can soften into that and let it play out and see what happens. You may ultimately draw the conclusion, "No, no, I do have to do something now." But then it was a measured or more intentional conclusion.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
It's literally like pausing before responding.
yeah.
But we really the whole idea is, I think our intuitive response is, "I wanna make uncomfortable situations comfortable."
Mhm.
But what I'm trying to get people to do is to shift that and get more comfortable with discomfort.
This makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people will get somewhat confused because, like, if there's a small child out playing on the lawn and that kid runs into the street and something is about to happen, you don't stop and be intentional. You will act and you will
Of
fix that.
course.
That is correct. But we're talking about where automatically in every situation you have to take action. You don't even know you're doing it. Every single time. There's always a correction, there's always an accommodation, there's always a discipline thing, there's always a something doing for, taking care of.
Right.
You never don't do it.
Here's the difference. Of course, if your child's about to run in the street, of course you go and get them.
Right.
But if you are in a fenced playground and your child is appropriately playing and you're hovering over them, and your body is sending you the same signals.
Right.
No, then I do want you to pause and soften there and step back.
Yeah. I may have to sit on the bench, even though I really, really want to like stay
Right.
3 feet from them. Yeah.
Right. Your body may send you the same signals, but you're not in danger, nor you are not in danger, nor is your child in danger. You
Yeah.
may feel the same instinct that you have to stand over your child and protect them as if they're going to like dart, but and
Yeah.
your child like is getting, building independence, they're playing, they may be making friends with someone or doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's in the child's best interest and in yours to step back and
And Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was gonna
It
step on you. Sorry.
and so, like, giving the parents the skill set to say, "Okay, what's driving my behavior right now? Like, what's driving my behavior, and what do I do with the feelings in my body?" Because just because they're telling me one thing doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I need to automatically rush to action.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. And I think sometimes it would be the old like, wait a minute, what's happening? If we do that whole like act triflex thing, what's actually happening right now? And I'm worried about, but is that thing happening? No, I'm just worried that it might happen. But then we're faced
Exactly.
with the uncomfortable reality that we cannot prevent every possible bad thing. Now, clearly, if kids on the playground and there's an open lava pit, yeah, do something to prevent them from going into the pit because that's a real
Yeah,
thing that can happen. But I don't know. I just have this image in my head that she's going to fall off the slide and like crack her head open. Okay, there's rubber, and she's that's not happening. So like can you prevent you'd have them do nothing, but the kid would always just have to sit on a bench then,
right.
right? So, that's
Exactly.
just uncomfortable reality that I cannot prevent every possible disaster, minor and major. I can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just for the little kids. So
Mhm.
it's not as if some parents stop the overprotection. They're tracking them, their locations, they're doing their scheduling, they're calling them to make sure that they're up for classes. It's not always so easy for parents to cut that proverbial, that's a hard word to say, cord.
Yeah.
So we think, oh, well, this is just like a little kid problem. No, no, no. Sometimes parents are doing these behaviors, and it's really hard for them to know when to stop. And I'm seeing this. I mean, I'm hearing about it not only in my practice, but I'm hearing about it in, in my personal life too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many parallels here, and I know we both read the similar in a similar genre here. The Anxious Generation, the Jonathan Haidt book,
Yeah.
there's a lot of parallels here. Like, he does if you're interested in Joanna's book, you should read both of those books, I think, because yeah, like sometimes we've taken away so many of the experiences that we ourselves got to have to help us
Yes. Oh
learn.
my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. So,
Yes.
yeah. So the book actually has some exercises. You're teaching people bottom up the stress tolerance and how they
Yeah.
might begin to actually practice doing this.
Yeah. You know me. I
Yeah,
have
I do.
I have exercises almost at the end of every single chapter.
Oh, that's really
Look
good.
at me,
See,
the
Joanna
Virgo.
she brings the heat with this stuff for sure.
I certainly do.
I know. I think that's great. So just do nothing for parents, in parentheses, for parents. I love it. Parenting better by doing less.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I'm glad you wrote that book. Somebody needed to.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's really practical, and it's full of all the ways I screwed up because I certainly am learning every single day how to do it better.
Admittedly, I have not seen an advanced copy of the book. I gotta, Liz has fallen asleep on the job, I think. We gotta
Why
call her.
didn't I didn't know you wanted to.
That's all right. But I did read Joanna's. In fact, we produced your audiobook for the first book. And like if you hold true to the form, it's also probably kind of funny, I bet. I bet there are a lot of humorous moments in this book. Joanna's hilarious.
It's really it should have been I should have dedicated an it's like a big apology to my son who this book.
This book is dedicated to my son. I'm sorry. That's it. That's the
It
whole.
it really should be an
Oh,
apology to my son
yeah.
who, gosh, got the brunt of still gets the brunt of my anxiety.
Oh,
I'm getting better.
very nice. Well, listen, clearly there are parallels here. If you're struggling with your own anxiety and that falls into like it drives you to overparent, which drives you to being even more anxious, well, here you go. As it
Yeah.
turns out, this is all going to sound very familiar, just applied in the context of being a parent, which is really great. We need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Um, I will, as usual, when I come back to wrap this up, I will give you all the links to all the stuff, but joannahardis.com, that's the first place to start, right?
Yeah. JoannaHardis.com.
Very good. If you are listening to this podcast on the 22nd, it means that book is available now
It
already.
is. It is available now.
Very good. So I'll give you a link. Just go to theanxioustruth.com/329. I'll have all the links. How's
Okay.
that? Very good. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Anything else I wanna add? I don't think so.
Very good.
But
Well,
again, oh, I will I mean, I'll add that, this book is not just it's for parents of any age.
yeah. Oh, I love that.
It is, because it doesn't matter how old your kids are. because my kids are in their the youngest is 19, the oldest is mid-20s, and the issues are the same. I mean, and in fact, I think as your kids get older, we need these skills even more. So it really is for parents of any age or grandparents. I mean, w- life, it really, I know we all want to make uncomfortable situations more comfortable, but this book is really helping us to get more comfortable with discomfort because that's the price of admission for this life.
Yeah. For any 40-year-old who has a 65-year-old overbearing parent,
Yeah,
same thing. Get in the book.
absolutely. Yeah,
Holidays are coming, right? So, yeah,
yeah, for
I hear you.
sure.
Very good. I appreciate you. It's always great when you come on.
I
I'm
love
glad
coming on. Thank
you're the
you.
most frequent guest. That's a good thing. So,
Oh, thank you. I
all
love it.
right. Well, I'll be back in a second to wrap it up, and I'll give you guys all the links. And thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we are back. There is a reason why Joanna is the guest that appears most frequently on the Anxious Truth podcast. She always has great insight. She always has great advice. And as you can see, when we talked about the exercises that she put in her book, she always brings practicality as well, which I really appreciate. And she's never talking about nonsense or over promising crazy stuff. So we're in alignment. Clearly, I consider her a colleague and a friend, and I'm always happy when she takes time to talk to us. If you want to know more about Joanna, you can find her on her website. That's joannahardis.com. I'm sure she will have links to her book. Her new book is called Just Do Nothing, in parentheses, for parents. It's parenting better by doing less. If you go to theanxioustruth.com/329, I'll have links to that book wherever it happens to exist if you want to check it out. I make no money on that. Yes, Joanna and I are friends. We are freaking collaborators. We work together, but I have no financial interest in that book. So I'm not trying to shill something for money. I just think that Joanna always has good things to say. So you might want to check that out. That's it. That's episode 329 in the books for those of you who are anxious parents or trying to navigate the challenges of being parents alongside all the anxiety and uncertainty and big emotions that come with that. Hopefully you found something helpful today that you can take and use in your real life, because that's kind of why we do this stuff. Anyway, we will be back again in 2 weeks with another topic. I'm not sure what it is, but we will be here. And I will ask you before I sign off a favor, as I always do. If you're listening to this as a podcast episode on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you dig The Anxious Truth, then maybe leave a 5-star rating if you think it's worth it. And if you really, really like it, maybe write a quick review that tells people why you like this podcast. It helps more people find it. And that's why I do this to begin with, to try and help. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, maybe subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload new stuff. It just tells YouTube that you like what I'm making. And since it's a lot of effort to make these videos, it's always nice that they know that you're into them. So, anyway, whichever way you choose to support this podcast or the work that I do or not is totally fine. I appreciate you spending today with me. Maybe you'll come back in 2 weeks, don't know. Just a quick reminder that anything that you can do to move away from reacting in fear all the time to your internal experiences and toward acting toward what matters to you and aligns more closely with your values, even if that's a very tiny change that you might make today and tomorrow, that counts. They all add up. They will get you in the direction you want to go. I wouldn't be doing this every 2 weeks, talking into microphones and cameras, if I didn't think you could do it. It's a hard job, but you can get it done. So hang in there. Be nice to yourself as you work on your own anxiety and your own recovery. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks. We're out.